to it. We have a few people who can't make it this morning, the submitters, but we have Mark and Claire here on time and ready to go. So fire away. Good to see you.
Is the clock up?
Yep.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm Mark, this is Claire, probably figured that much out. And who are we? So we are both on the committee for Atlas Quarter, which was, I think, the first apartment development built after the quakes in Christchurch, on Wells Street in the south of the city, just behind Pack and Save. We're also just in the very early stages of trying to start a neighbourhood association, because there doesn't seem to be one covering all these new apartment developments in our corner of the city, and we think it would be very good to have one and have some networking going on, and we've called ourselves Concentric, Christchurch Ōtautahi Neighbours. Nothing like a really complicated pun. And yeah, we love living in the city centre. We're fully vested in, I guess, what the council's trying to achieve in terms of, you know, the higher density housing and a climate-friendly city and a vibrant city with a really strong community. And so we're just really glad to be here and happy to do what we can to help that succeed. Oh yeah, so this is where we live, Wells Street. This came from our neighbour, Oliver Huggins. So all the green roofs you can see on there are residential. So it's an area that before the earthquakes was more industrial, but over time it's become a more and more, I guess, residential and also commercial area. A really exciting place to live.
So if you move on to here, you can see the slide on the left is the development, which is done right, the one central, and how it can be done right with new infrastructure, walkways, etc., is because it was sort of a new blank canvas, wasn't it? And it's also not only a new blank canvas, it's majority residential precinct, as opposed to, if you go to the next slide, Mark, as opposed to Wells Street, which prior to the earthquake was totally industrial area, and then it changed to more of a mix of new and repurposed buildings. But the streetscape still looks like a wasteland. Our street's a mixture of residential, hospo, retail, and that's why we need appropriate infrastructure. We need foot and mixed accessibility, we need rubbish and recycling, and maybe a bit of street furniture and some plants to make it look like, you know, this is a nice place for people to wander around. And yeah, it's also got some surface flooding issues. So if you want to go shopping on a rainy day, you've got to take your red vans. Now, one of the main reasons that Wells Street still feels like it was pre-quake is the speed limit hasn't changed. So the main roads adjacent have reduced to 30, but the speed limit on Wells Street and Dundas Street stays at 50. So Wells Street in particular is pretty skinny with cars parked on both sides, and some of the cars aren't very careful about how fast they go. They're not really going 50, they're going 60 or 70. So one of the things that we're suggesting is that maybe reduce the speed to 30 and even think about making the street one way. I did do a bit of a straw poll with some of the businesses in Wells Street. I took to 11 of them out of about 20, and all of them agreed with the overarching principle of making the street more pedestrian friendly, and all of them agreed with reducing the maximum speed, and most were in agreement with making a one-way proposal. So yeah, it's not like we feel like a bunch of aliens there sometimes. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, and so we noticed in the draft annual plan that there's a proposal to extend the city vacant differential to more places, including the commercial part of Sydenham. We're not actually included in that city vacant differential on Wells Street and Dundas Street, and we actually have quite a few, well, 3 that I have counted properties that look really untidy and could definitely use some, dusty. And so we feel like if you're going to have the city vacant differential in Sydenham, it would be really good to just close the gap and have it in our neighbourhood as well. That being said, one of the three on here is actually doing some development right now, so we don't actually know what's going to happen. We think maybe they're prettying up the car park. We will see. But yeah, it'd be really nice to have an incentive for all of the neighbours to contribute to that vision of making it a really beautiful neighbourhood. There was one thing I wanted to say as well, because we've got plenty of time. This imagery belongs to the council. It's amazing quality. It's amazing how far you can zoom in, but it's a really untapped resource because most of the public don't know that it exists here. The only way that something like this can get onto the likes of Google Maps is if staff at the council actually upload it into the system. So I've talked to Linz. They said they can't do it. I've talked to Canterbury Images, and they said talk to Linz, but I think it would have to be someone at the council. We could get this in Google Maps and have much better quality imagery than what we have at the moment. Sorry, that's a unrelated point. Last year we came to you about curbside collection because we don't receive council service because we have rubbish rooms. We couldn't fill the street up with those small bins. It would be chaos. So we pay for a private company to come and collect the rubbish, and you very kindly gave us a rebate to account for the fact that we're actually having to pay for our own rubbish collection. So we're very grateful for that. Just looking through all the details of the annual plan, I noticed that it actually costs more to opt into the rubbish collection if you don't already receive it than what you receive as a rebate to opt out. And I also noticed that amount that it costs to opt into rubbish collection is increasing by 9.9% in the draft annual plan. So I guess it's just a suggestion to think about whether the two things should be the same, like whether the rebate should be the same as the fee for opting in, and also, even if they shouldn't be the same, just to think about whether the rebate should be increased in line with inflation or in line with what the fee for opting in has increased by. You might have also noticed in my written submission, I was a bit concerned or confused by $1.4 million that had been flagged for curbside collection alternatives to curbside collection in the city centre. I've since received a bit of clarification from the council staff member, and it sounds like part of it is just the wording is actually a bit inaccurate, and there's actually a few external factors that will influence what might actually happen with that money in the end. So I don't have any concerns about that 1.4 million. It looks like it's flagged, and they still need to do a bit of work to identify exactly how it will be used. One other thing for rubbish for me is, so I don't have a car. I sold it to live in the city centre, and to reduce my carbon footprint, which means that the eco-drop facilities aren't accessible to me. So I can't actually thoughtfully dispose of things that I don't want anymore. I just have to throw them in the red bin if they're not recyclable. So it could be quite nice to have some kind of recycling facility or eco-drop or something in a more central location for people who can't go to those far-flung locations. So yeah, something worth thinking about. And I guess the only other thing we really wanted to just, speak in support of cycle lanes, speak in support of good public transport infrastructure and making sure that it's safe and making sure that it's accessible. We all love using the buses in Christchurch, and we want it to be better. We have bike rooms in our complex so that we can all cycle out to different places as well. And yeah, like I say, I've sold my car, so I feel like now I need the council to lift its game and make sure that the alternatives are usable as well. Thank you very much. See, I've left 55 seconds for questions.
No, you've done very well. You've done very well. Melanie, and then Kelly.
Thank you. The question I had was about tauranga in the meeting rooms that you mentioned here. I was just wondering if you could sort of talk about the types of people you think would be affected by that charge that's proposed.
Yeah, so it's quite hard to find spaces in the city that are accessible to community groups. I know my partner is trying to set up kind of a rainbow network in safe spaces that may be a bit less public, so that people who are maybe a bit vulnerable have somewhere where they can come together and meet each other and feel safe. And so, library spaces are one of the options that are accessible for things like that. And so the meeting rooms, to me, they're an important community resource, and they're a lot smaller than those other big spaces in Turanga. And the proposal at the moment is to make those tiny meeting rooms cost the same as the big spaces. And I think, they cater to different types of people, and so I think those small spaces should be accessible to community groups.
Okay, thank you, Kelly.
Oh, thanks, Mark. Great presentation. I'm really interested in the recycling. Could you just explain that? So, basically, you don't have bins?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So we have recycling bins, we have green bins, we have red bins. The point I was making is if you own a car and you want to get rid of your TV or your computer or your lounge suite or something smaller that's still in good working condition, you just drive it to the eco drop. There's a lot of smaller things, like, I don't know, batteries. You're not supposed to put them in the red bin. You're not supposed to put them in the yellow bin. You can't really do anything with them. So it's just a suggestion that maybe a lot of those things that can't currently be disposed of thoughtfully, there could be options.
Yeah, I just wondered about the body corporate for the unit that you're staying in. Maybe they might have a solution. Yeah, but it's a really good thing, an honourable thing to look to solve. So yeah, good work. I don't have the answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
very
very
much. Very much appreciate it.
So should we see if Mr.